Hey everyone, this is Manly Badass Hero, and welcome back to It Moves. Previously on It Moves, we went through the first two dreams. Now we're on the third night, and things don't seem to be getting any better. I like how subtle this dream is. It's just, giant satanic skull being hanged by chains. Weird rust and symbols everywhere. It's very subtle. I like that whatever's haunting my dreams decide to take the time to kind of design something unique and original. Now we get some glowy eyes. Just to ump the originality factor, Stop trying so hard, Skull. Something happened. That can't be the end of the dream, can it? No. Oh, now we have a pentagram. To complete the set. Some kind of dark altar. So that these demons may summon a Dark Lord and rule over all. Hello. Polite dream demons. Usually are. That's locked. Let's see. Looking down here. It's basically another labyrinth. Key is to figure out how do I unlock these gates. Green landscape. So that switch presumably opened a door somewhere. Just gotta figure out where. Ghost. How are you? I'm doing fine, thank you. The blood is kind of tracking on my shoes, and shoes are kind of expensive, but things are doing alright. Except for the fact you're terrifying my player character here. Creepy mask. Are you Majora? Something happened there. Should just be one more area or so we haven't gone into. Blood's pouring in. What is that? Like a mass of heads. A very angry mass of heads. Sack face. Actually, yeah, this is the last one. Star? Almost like a sheriff's badge. Something changed. Maybe the altar activated. Sack face. Being sent into a world of torment. And vague symbolism. It's funny how certain words can remain hidden from your mind, no matter how blatant or obvious they are. One word came to me that night, lying there in the darkness alone, frightened, aware of a rotten change in the atmosphere. A thickening of the air, as if something had displaced it. As I heard the first casual twists of the bedsheets below, the first anxious increase of my heartbeat at the realization that something was once again in the bottom bunk, that word. A word which had been sent into exile, filtered up through my consciousness. Breaking free of all repression, gasping for air, screaming, etching, and carving itself into my mind. Ghost. Ghost. As this thought came to me, I noticed that my unwelcome visitor had ceased moving. The bed sheets lay calm and dormant, but they had been replaced by something far more hideous. A slow, rhythmic, rasping breath heaved and escaped from the thing below. I could imagine its chest rising and falling with each sordid, wheezing, and garbled breath. I shuddered, and hoped beyond all hope that it would leave without occurrence. The house lay, as it had the previous night, in a thick blanket of darkness. Silence prevailed, all but for the perverted breath of my, as yet, unseen bunkmate. I lay there, terrified. I just wanted this thing to go, to leave me alone. What did it want? Then something unmistakably chilling transpired. It moved. It moved in a way different from before. When it threw itself around in the bottom bunk, it seemed unrestrained, without purpose, almost animalistic. For that thing lying there in the darkness, that thing which seemed intent on terrorizing a young boy, calmly and nonchalantly sat up. Its labored breathing had become louder. Now only a mattress and a few flimsy wooden slats separated my body from the unearthly breath below. I lay there, my eyes filled with tears, a fear in which mere words could not relate to you or anyone else coursed through my veins. I would not have believed that this fear could have been heightened, but I was so wrong. I imagined what this thing would look like, sitting there listening from below my mattress, hoping to catch the slightest hint that I was awake. Imagination then turned to an unnerving reality. It began to touch the wooden slats which my mattress sat on. It seemed to caress them carefully, running what I imagined to be fingers and hands across the surface of the wood. Then, with a great force, it prodded angrily between the two slats, into the mattress. Even through the padding, it felt as though someone had viciously stuck their fingers into my side. I let out an almighty cry, and the wheezing and shaking. And the moving thing in the bunk below replied in kind by violently vibrating the bunk as it had done the night before. Small flakes of paint powdered onto my blanket from the wall as the frame of the bed scraped along it, backwards and forwards. Once again, I was bathed in light, and there stood my mother, loving, caring as she as always was, with a comforting hug and calming words which eventually subdued my hysteria. Of course, she asked what was wrong, but I could not say. I dared not say. I simply said one word over and over and over again. Nightmare. So this is gonna sound kind of weird, but I wonder if it is the brother just sneaking in. And the way he describes the movements down there just sounds so wrong. If you know what I mean. But it does sound like someone's actually down there, and maybe mother doesn't want to say, you know, like, your brother sneaked into your room and brought a porno mag with him to the bottom bunk, and then he got upset when he realized you're awake and embarrassed, and he scraped up the walls, and, you know, that kind of awkward story. This pattern of events continued for weeks, if not months. Night after night, I would awaken to the sound of rustling sheets. Each time I would scream so as to not provide this abomination with time to prod and feel for me. With each cry, the bed would shake violently, stopping with the arrival of my mother, who would spend the rest of the night in the bottom bunk. Seemingly unaware of the sinister force torturing her son nightly. Along the way, I managed to feign illness a few times and come up with other less than truthful reasons for sleeping in my parents' bed. But more often than not, I would be alone for the first few hours of each night in that place. The room where the light from outside did not sit right, alone with that thing. With time, you can become desensitized to almost anything, no matter how horrific. I had come to realize that, for whatever reason, this thing could not harm me when my mother was present. I am sure the same would have been said for my father, but as loving as he was, waking him from sleep was almost impossible. Waking me, on the other hand, was no trouble at all, thanks to the nightmares. So last time, it was an obvious kind of hellhole. This time, it's a little different. It's like a mansion or a chapel or something. Earthquake. Earthquake? I have experienced earthquakes quite a few times in usually my sleep. Of course, you wake up afterwards, but... And I have been in some very nasty ones that have, for the most part, taken out the roof of the house. The painted glass depicts a scene from the Bible. Spider. Not a chapel at all. Some kind of alchemy lab or something. Another one. Alright, now that's just such a contrast to what we just saw. It's a big pool, but I'd rather not use it. This right here, I've actually seen the picture this pool is pulled from, but the scene itself reminds me of the movie, I think it's called this, it's when the woman goes into I think it was like a serial killer's brain or something into his dreams. Nap. Blood. Hanging cats. This is just a dead end. Trapped. The music stopped. I guess I just wait now? Maybe that thing in the pool is moving. Earthquakes were just a giant titan all along. Oh man. Don't like puppets. Let's just keep going. This is a puzzle, isn't it? No. Yeah, it's just a looping world. The mouth's closed this time. At least that's what I think it is. Can't really seem to do much. Just gotta keep on walking. Eventually we'll make progress. Some form or another. No! No! Titan babies. Is that my scream? My greatest fears were realized in the winter. The days grew short, and the longer nights merely provided this wretch with more opportunities. It was a difficult time for my family. My grandmother, a wonderfully kind and gentle woman, had deteriorated greatly since the death of my grandfather. My mother was trying her best to keep her in the community as long as possible. However, dementia is a cruel and degenerative illness, robbing a person of their memories one day at a time. Soon she recognized none of us, and it became clear that she would need to be moved from her house to a nursing home. Before she could be moved, my grandmother had a particularly difficult few nights, and my mother decided that she would stay with her. As much as I loved my grandmother and felt nothing but anguish at her illness, to this day I feel guilty that my first thoughts were not of her, but of what my nightly visitor shall do if it became aware of my mother's absence. Her presence being the one thing which I was sure was protecting me from the full horror of this thing's reach. I rushed home from school that day and immediately wrenched the bedsheets and mattress from the lower bunk, removing all the slats and placing an old desk, a chest of drawers, and some chairs which we kept in a cupboard where the bottom bunk used to be. I told my father I was making an office, which he found adorable, until the evil dream babies come and try to chew my face off. Kind of adorable in their own way. But I would be damned if I'd give that thing a place to sleep for one more night. As darkness approached, I lay there knowing my mother was not in the house. I did not know what to do. My only impulse was to sneak into her jewelry box and take a small family crucifix, which I had seen there before. While my family were not very religious, at that age I still believed in God and hoped that somehow this would protect me. Although fearful and anxious, while gripping the crucifix under my pillow tightly in one hand, sleep eventually came, and as I drifted off to the dream, I hoped that I would awaken in the morning without incidents. Unfortunately, that night was the most terrifying of all. So that's it for part 2 of It Moves. So far this game hasn't disappointed me. It doesn't seem there's too much connection between these dreams aside from the fact they're kind of horrifying, especially for a little kid. But the satanic skulls and the kind of dream babies, it just seemed kind of like they're scary for the sake of being scary. And it's either they actually are just nightmares and this is just a tough time for the kid, or there could be more to it. I know this is based somewhat off another story. I don't know that original story or how that went, or if there was an actual supernatural thing behind it all. Because if you know your kind of myths and monsters and things like that, then you know there's quite a few of them tied to bad dreams or sleep paralysis or things like that. So it could be a supernatural edge, or it just could be just bad dreams. Anyway, so thank you all for watching and stay tuned for It Moves Part 3.